Hi, this is Christy from 8 Days a Week, and today I'm going to show you how I made Pascal from Tangled. So first what you're going to need is, similar to last time, is we're going to do the ends of his body with polystyrene balls, just so they last a wee bit longer, that you can be able to keep as wee keepsakes. So I've got an egg-shaped one and a round one, and with the egg-shaped one, with the pointy bit towards the back, we're going to put his two front legs in. So just using cocktail sticks, squeeze those in at a wee angle so he sits up the way, and then a wee one at the back just to hold it in place. Really, it won't have any needs other than just to secure it to the dummy while I'm doing the work on it. So just adjust the legs and keep them upright, as you can see. You can have a right wee fiddle with that until you're happy with the kind of height he's off the ground and stuff like that. So the difference with this one, I'm not going to use modelling paste. I've just got green Renshaw's sugar paste that I'm going to use, and because I've left my silicone roller, I'm just using a bubble tea straw, which wasn't that helpful, but managed to work in the interim before I go and get it. So just a wee bit of corn flour on your board and roll out some green paste. In no way, shape or form, just as you like. As you can see, it tears a wee bit when it sticks, so just make sure you've got enough wee paste and you can cut off those ragged edges as you go. Next, what we're going to do is, he has got a bit of a kind of ridge on his spine, so we're going to put a wee under support there before we cover it in paste, and that will help get that shape without kind of trying to bend your fondant. So just taper a sausage at both ends, roll it out, and then just stick it to the back to give him that wee ridge that we want. And you can see, just place it on. Not again, there's not much skill to it. And then with your other your flat rolled out paste, you're going to put that on top and cover his full body. And as you can see, that wee support, or that wee band of paste that we put underneath it's giving a nice wee shape to him, which you can work on and we can decorate on top of. So just cut off all the extra. There's kind of a lot of paste there that I don't need now looking back. It was quite a big bit that rolled, so it's probably better to have more than less. So just have a wee fiddle, get him covered, and just with your fingers bend into his spine a wee bit more to give him that sort of ridge that the wee kind of chameleons have. It's not pointy, it's not sharp, it's just softly cover it. We don't need to create any really major definition. And then with the nib of a circular nib of a piping tool, just get that, and that's a really good, I use that lots for creating texture. So just pop it on your finger, and you can just make the wee circles as you go. And then with your dredging tool, just mark in wee ridges on his back, and again you can smooth out and create a more shallower sort of spine, but as you can see, you get a nice wee sort of scaly texture using that nib of the piping bag. Next up, we're going to do his hind legs. So he has got 2 toes on his back and 3 on his front. So with a wee bit of green sugar paste, just roll a wee ball, and then similar to when we did Poppy, taper it out, keeping a kind of heavier bit at the front, and then you can measure the way you want to do your bends. His legs are kind of underneath him, so just fold to get his wee knee, and then you're going to need to fold again to create his foot. So just hold it against the your table or whatever it is you're using, and just have a wee play with it until you get sort of a wee foot resembling shape, and then we can cut in his toes. So just with your wee knife, cut in a wee gap, and then just use your forefinger and your thumb just to taper out his wee toes. And yeah, just keep, until you're happy, it's best just to keep going. If you're finding the sugar paste too difficult to work with, you can rub in some Tylo powder, or obviously you can use a green modelling paste, but for what I had to ease, I just went with sugar paste and just gave it a go, as they say. So that's one wee leg attached. As you can see, I've just put the wee bit behind his bum and put his knee at the side and sort of pushed his leg slightly underneath him. And then you can do the same with the other leg. And again, just stick it on with a wee dot of water. And again, just push his wee feet underneath him to give him that sort of like perched shape that he has to his back legs. And again, with your dressing, you can neaten up your wee cut lines and get rid of any wee seams you don't like with a paintbrush. There you go. He's got his wee back legs on. Next up, we're going to do his tail. So just get a thicker piece of paste. You can leave your paste, like I said, if you want, in a cling film bag or a Ziploc bag or whatever you have to hand if you don't want to dry it, but I never really feel the need, to be honest. As long as you work it in and put some heat into it, it should be fine. So just get a wee dod and just we're going to do a long tapered sausage. So I have one side a bit thicker, the kind of blunt side you can see that I've got to my left, and then you're going to taper out just using the pressure of your hand to make that sausage go nice and skinny at the end, and that is going to help create its tail, which is a coil. So you're going to lightly kind of flatten out a wee bit because obviously his tail's not totally cylindrical, it's kind of like a squished cylinder. So just run your finger along, you can use a rolling pin if you like, and then start the coil kind of a tight wee side and just roll up as you go, creating the coil of his tail, which you'll see come together quite quickly. And obviously what you can do now is just measure, because it's not massive. As you can see, I've got a lot more paste than what I need, so I'm just going to trim off the excess that I've got and just kind of keep rolling the coil up. Then with a wee bit of water, I didn't feel I had to actually use water, the paste was quite sticky as is, so you can just stick it between the join of the back legs like so, and just have a wee play with it, flatten out as best you can. And then with your dress, and you can get rid of that seam just by dragging lightly the seam into the body and it'll disappear. And if you've still got a seam that you're still a wee bit concerned about, you can obviously use the nozzle of the piping bag again. So I've now just got the bubble tea straw, and I'm going to make a wee kind of support with some cocktail sticks just to keep that coil sitting nicely and neat. Again, if you have got a modelling paste, you probably won't need to do that. Because I'm using sugar paste, it is definitely a wee bit softer. But yeah, it'll harden up just like anything else will, so you can just add some wee texture from the body to the tail just using your piping tip. And there you go, got his wee tail on. So next up, Pascal's kind of got a wee ridge along the middle of his body, so I'm just going to roll a really tiny little sausage out. Just keep rolling. I usually more 4 fingers because obviously it's quite soft and it needs to be quite thin, so whatever, you can use a smoother, a lot of people do that too. And then with your dresden tool, you're just going to put a wee bit of like a linear texture, so just lightly press into it. And what you can do now is with some water, just draw in the wee ridge line along his tummy, which goes from his back leg right to the front. See, I'm just putting in a wee bit of water now, I'm just making sure I've got the right sort of height for it. And then along the tail, and then you can just with your knife cut to size the length of wee strips that you'll need. So I think the first one is this body that I'm going to do, so just piece that on and use your paintbrush if it's a wee bit fiddly. Using kind of small pieces like this, it can, because obviously the heat of your hands and stuff can make it quite difficult, and you can just re-put those lines in with the edge of the paintbrush. As you can see, it's just a wee extra bit of detail that's always nice to have to give him a sort of overall look. And then you can do the same from his tail, kind of spiraling up to his body. Again, just use your paintbrush and just gently kind of stick it on as best you can. I was just watching there to see what I was doing. And then we can do, again, I've just realised I forgot on the back of his legs he's got a wee bit of texture too, so you can just obviously with your pipe and nib just add that in as best you go. And then on the other side, we're going to do the same again. You can use the same wee bit of sausage, it's not going to dry out or anything, so just paint in your wee lines, and then with your scissors cut up the wee bits that you've got left, so you can just place them on and stick them as best you can with the paintbrush or dresden tool or cocktail stick, whatever you feel comfortable using. I'm just using, I feel the brush gives a nice soft shape to it, a nice soft shape, not too kind of like harsh as like maybe a cocktail stick would necessarily. So just stick it on as you go, and that's, he's got his wee side bits. And again, just on his other leg, a wee bit of texture on the top of his knee. So next I'm just going to reposition his wee front legs to give him a wee bit of an, I've realised now that I've done his back legs, they're maybe quite close together, so just reposition those. And we're going to get his front legs on. And like I said earlier, his front legs, he's got 3 toes rather than 2. So just in a similar way we did his back legs, you're just going to do a wee ball and then roll it into kind of a sausage, taper into one side and flatten out a wee bit the base of his foot. So you can see, just use your fingers and pull it out. They're not really long toes or anything, so you don't need to worry too much. And once you're happy with the shape, you can cut in his wee feet, cut in his wee toes. So he's got 3, like I said, so you're going to do cut a wee, they're quite far apart, so I'm kind of removing that wee triangle in the middle, as you can see. And then just with your 4 fingers, you can just roll out his wee toes, kind of softening that cutting line so it's not as harsh. Again, just have a wee fiddle with it. The sugar paste, obviously, like I have said, it's a wee bit softer, so you may wish to have Tyler added so it's a wee bit stronger and stable for you to work with, maybe dries a bit quicker, but I was just kind of working with what I had to hand, and it wasn't too bad, I suppose. Just a wee bit temperamental. So what you're going to do is, once you're happy with the shape, we're going to just put in a wee crease line for where its angle would sit. And then basically, because the sugar paste is nice and soft, we're just going to mould it round with your forefingers around the cocktail stick that's there. Remember, obviously, if this goes on top of a cake or the side of a cake, you're not really going to see the back underneath there. That's why I've not been bothered about that white bit of ball that's shown, because it's going to get covered with the head. So just mould it around the cocktail stick and pull it up into the body, and that'll give you position of the front foot. And you can use your dresing tool if you're finding that difficult, or you can put a wee line in the back of it and pull it around the stick, kind of hide it a wee bit more if you want, but I just didn't feel it was necessary. As you can see, we've got it all stuck on there, and we're going to do the same on the other side, after I've stopped filling with his toes, of course. So again, just get a wee ball. I should say at this point, my nails are painted, which is I never have when I'm doing cakes, but as you know, with the current circumstances, we're allowed to have our nails painted, but like I said, this is all tutorial based. So next up, we're going to do his head, so get your wee sphere ball and a wee dot of fondant just so you can work upon, and we're going to do the same as the back, so we're going to mark in the shapes of his head, which we're then going to cover in the paste. So first up, we're going to do his central sort of like mohawk shape, so just with the ball, just hold it, and then with a wee tapered sausage, just stick it on top. I feel on hindsight, maybe this could have been a wee bit higher, but you never know until you're doing it. I've never done this wee guy before, so I'm just doing it from an image that I have. So I'm kind of working out from the shape he's got, kind of like a high brow on each side, as well as his wee mohawk. So I'm just kind of popping that on and smoothing out those edges to the ball, so when you cover it, you've got a nice shape already there. And then the same on the other side. As you can see, so you've kind of got these three wee sausages sitting. The main one, that's obviously sitting a bit prouder, and then the two, which his eye sockets will be underneath. And you can see where my fingers were there, that's where I'm mapping out where his eyes will sort of be. And the last thing, he's got a wee bit more of a protruding mouth, so we're going to just do a kind of flatter sausage, flatten it right in, and just pop that straight across the centre, or the kind of bottom third of the ball, and that'll be where we can help exaggerate the shape of his mouth. And as you can see, I'm just using it with my forefinger, just blending it in. You really don't need to be too cautious, because this is going to get totally covered with the sugar paste going on top. Again, you can use any colour, I'm just using green because it's there. So that's me happy with the underneath, and what I'm going to do, just for a bit of support, I'm going to use my dummy, and I'm going to just put the ball onto that, just so I've got a nice firm base to work with, so when I'm covering it, it's not going to roll about on me. So with the rest of your paste that's there, just give it a wee knead, and then you can roll it out. Again, a wee bit of corn flour if it's sticky. I'm using my roller pin here because it's a wee bit bigger, so just obviously I'll make sure I get my silicone one next time we go out, which is not that long as we're all in isolation. But yeah, so just roll out. I'm kind of finishing off my bubble tea straw. A kind of generic flat shape, doesn't need to be too thick, doesn't need to be too thin. Obviously bear in mind, it will stretch when you put it over your ball, and we're going to cover the full thing, so it needs to be big enough to go over. And then just with some water, I'm just going to cover more so the parts that are going to help create the shape, just so it sticks nice flush to those. And with your paste, just gently cover, and then just begin with your fingers, kind of gently just pushing in where you want the paste to go. So you need to be quite delicate here, because obviously it can tear, but I'm just making sure I get those creases, and then I'm going to gather it at the back and roll it and cut all that excess off. So obviously I'm not too concerned now about the mess of the back, because obviously you can see when I've gathered it there's going to be a lot of fondant. I'm more concerned with trying to make the paste not dry out, so I'm just quickly, as fast as you can, kind of get through it, and you can start blending with your finger out the shape of his face. So I'm just using my 4 fingers, just being quite delicate, and you will find the more you do this, the more the wee lines will be buffed out, and the more you'll be able to create sort of the shape of his wee face. So I'm just using my 4 fingers to pinch where his eye sockets will be, and kind of just keeping referring to I was keeping referring to my photo to make sure I kind of had the right shape. I'm kind of flattening out that wee bit at the middle because that's where his wee nostrils are going to go. And again, you can spend ages doing this, just as long as you're happy that you've got kind of the rough shape, and we're good to go. So with your dress and the sharp point, we're going to put in those wee nostrils that I was just talking about. So kind of at the bottom towards the middle, just 2 wee holes. Don't obviously be aware if you go too far, you're going to hit the polystyrene ball. So it can be shallow, just to give, or if you'd much rather, you can paint on 2 wee dots, but whatever you feel works best. And as you can see, I'm really trying to make quite a sharp sort of edge to those eye sockets, just to help create the shape as best we can. So next up is his mouth. So I'm kind of just again following the shape from the picture and onto that kind of thicker bit of fondant that we put on that will help give his kind of protruding mouth. So just follow the wee shape with the sharp end of your dresing tool and kind of mark in until you're happy, and then using a paintbrush I just always go over it, and that creates kind of like, it's a softer tool to use to create sort of a slight openness to his mouth rather than it being like a drawn on element. Again, if you'd rather, you can paint, but as you can see, I've kind of pulled it up to the sides, and with my thumbs I'm just kind of making sure I'm happy with the sort of shape and where his cheekbones fall. And then the other side of the dressing tool, if you use them, you can push in and you can create his wee smile lines. So next up, what we're going to do is he's got sort of similar to the back, he's got these sort of like linear detailing on his eyebrows, which I suppose would be maybe his eyebrows. So just stick on over that sharp line a wee skinny sausage, and just with your fingers position it into place and do the same. You can see obviously now that I'm marking out where his eyes go, so you can do the same on the other side. So have a nice wee skinny sausage, taper it to one side, and a wee bit of water, just follow his eyebrow and just stick it on like that. And then with your dressing tool, you're just going to again just pop in the wee detail and the wee linear marks to help and give him sort of his lizardy, chameleon-y sort of features. So just lightly press in your wee sausages and that will help create the nice detail that you're needing. So just get your white fondant and give it a wee knead, and then you're going to roll it into a wee ball shape. I do this a couple of times because his eyes aren't googly, so you're obviously kind of just making sure they're not too big but not too small. So just take off little bits of fondant as you go until you're happy. Again, I feel they're a wee bit too big, so give it another wee roll out. And they're not going to be totally spherical, we're going to half it. So half it as you like, and then roll it into almost a rounded sort of coin shape. So thicker than obviously a pound coin, and you can tape it in, and that will help create the sort of half sphere shape that his wee eyes are going to be. With a wee bit of water, just drop it on and stick those on until you're happy. Actually, not happy with these ones, as you'll see in a wee second, I take them off again. Oops. And like I said, take them off again, just felt it was a wee bit too big. So this can take kind of, it's really just until you're happy. I like to make sure that kind of as perfect as can be. So you can just keep taking off, keep rolling. You don't need to get new paste or whatever, just it'll be nice, and with all the working with it will be quite soft. So just keep working as best as you can so that they're similar shape but maybe not too as protruding as what they were before. I really didn't take off that much. I probably could have left it, but hindsight is a lovely thing, as they say. So with your green paste, we're going to create his wee eye sockets. So just wee sausages with tapered ends and a wee bit of water, and you're going to pop them on. It's sort of an angle rather than kind of halfway, because he's got a bit underneath as well that we need to kind of consider. So do a wee smaller one, and that'll be his bottom socket, which with your paintbrush you can just blend in those wee creases as best you can. And then the same, as you can see. And then the same on the other side. Just roll those wee sausages, the top one and the bottom one. And again, you can stick them on the big one first at the top of his top eyelid. Again, using your paintbrush just to kind of blend in. And then at the bottom part too. Sorry, my head's peeking in there. And then the same with the bottom one. These can be thicker or thinner, you can add more, you don't need to add them, just whatever you feel happy, but for me I was quite happy with the shape. So next up we're going to just paint in his wee eyeballs. So I've got some autumn leaf, I think it's called, sugar flare, which is just a wee bit of water. I'm just going to draw in those big irises. So I'm just doing an initial outline first just to make sure I've got the placement right. And I'm just going to kind of deepen the colour a wee bit when you're kind of happy. So you can really dilute your colour and kind of build up to it. You don't need to go in kind of all guns blazing with a dark colour because it's a wee bit difficult to get off. But again, just mirror the iris shape on the other side of his eye. Doing the outer circle first. And then you can fill in the inner circle. So just drag in from the outside that colour. You don't need a lot of colour here. We're creating kind of like because they're Disney characters, he's got quite like he's got quite like a charismatic eye, like quite bright, quite colourful. So just take your time to paint it in and do sort of, it's not flat colour, it's like an ombre colour and some texture to it, so you can add sort of nice wee lines towards the pupil. Which you can see I'm just keep neatening up as I go. So with a wee bit of black we can put the pupils in. I just feel it's easier to use paste because it's dark colour. So just a wee ball in the centre of his eye. And just pat it in so it's flat. And then the same on the other side. Just a wee ball, roll it in and just pat it in. So then with our black colour, what we're going to do is we're going to kind of increase the density of his eyes. So we're going to add a kind of like a thicker outline to his iris. And then we're going to add some wee paint strokes towards the centre of the pupil. And that's just going to help create a more dynamic, I suppose, sort of texture to his eye rather than it being just flat. Because it looks a wee bit creepy right now. So like I said, just draw in as best as you can. And again, so you're happy, there's not really an act to it, I'm just kind of referring to my picture, which is always good to have when you're doing models, obviously, to have it towards the side. And then with a wee bit of white paste, what we're going to do is a catch light, so just a wee circle, a wee tiny one at the side. Again, I always use two, I just feel it makes it look a wee bit nicer. So with a wee bit of water, just stick on a small one and a bigger one first, I should say, sorry, and then a smaller one underneath it. Again, quite temperamental, so take a wee bit longer. So then you're going to get your other cocktail stick and we're going to put one in the centre of his body, and you can obviously see all that excess. Don't worry about that now because obviously it's going to go towards the body and will help give him a wee bit of cushioning, so it's not going to go kind of put the polystyrene ball to the polystyrene ball. So just gently with your finger push his head on, and if any of the fondant moves, you can obviously flatten it out again. Use your paintbrush, make sure you're being gentle but obviously being quite firm at the same time, which I know is quite difficult. And then with your dresing tool or whatever you've got, you can re-pierce his wee nostrils. And then what we're going to do is, again, just with my dresing tool, I'm just, any of those seams that have maybe changed because I've been pushing his wee head on, you can just flatten those out and push them towards the body. But you can hide a multitude of sins, and at the end of the day it's a model, so you can you don't need to be as precious with those wee hidden things because you obviously can cover them quite easily. So that's us got his wee head on in place, and I'm just obviously just fiddling about, making sure I'm happy, and I'm now going to put on his wee mohawk texture with the dresing tool, which you can see I've just done there. So next up, again, I'm just going to cover that neck seam like I said, so just a wee bit of green paste and flatten it out. into tapered sausage and just pop that around, almost like a bit like a dog collar at the back, and then you can flatten it in with your fingers, and your texture tool, your wee pipe and nozzle, will work great for obviously taking away those seams. So just bear with it and be quite, you need to be gentle, I think, as well. You can't be too forceful with these things, but you can't worry about it being entirely perfect. There is going to be wee flaws here or there, and especially if you look for them. So just take your time and make sure you're happy with how he is, and I'm pretty happy with how he's looking. So next up, what we're going to do is just, final stages is add some colour to him. So he does have a lighter sort of fade on his mouth. So I'm just going to do this with some watered down white powder food colouring that I've got. Again, just buff it in, sort of like a milk moustache around the seam of his mouth. You can use your fingers, you can use a fluffier brush, you can totally skip this step because it's really just for an added look. So just buff out those wee edges, and then what we can do after that is mix in some yellow. See, he's got a nice wee milk moustache, which I'm just kind of playing about with. And again, using a big heavier brush just to get rid of some of those brush strokes so it looks a wee bit more natural. And then with the yellow that I've got there, a tiny little bit, I'm just going to blend that into the white to create sort of a lighter butter colour, which you can just dab on and move about. With the paint being wet, you can take it off if you aren't happy, or you can keep mixing on the model, or you can create the colour you would like and then put it on, whatever you feel more comfortable. I'm just kind of winging it, as they say. And again, just put on as much as you're happy with, and just buff that out just so it's got a nice bit of shadow, a lighter shadow around his mouth. And then what we can do is, his final wee bit is his back, which we're going to have a wee look at in a wee minute once I've finished fiddling. And again, what we're going to do with your white, he's kind of got some texture, a lighter sort of section towards his nose, so you can keep going and keep adding. You could really add for ages, as you can see what I'm doing. I keep having a wee play about adding white, adding yellow. If you would rather, you can obviously let the paint dry and come back to it and go back forward, but I'm just doing a wee trick that I did the other day, drying off your brush that's nice and fluffy, and that'll just help get rid of those wee lines. So next up, he does have sort of some subtle shapes towards his back, so with a little bit of green and your excess white, I'm just going to add sort of some wee patches, sort of camel style. There's not really, again, any sort of pattern to follow. I'm just copying my picture, so a darker green sort of stripe almost up onto his face and on his body, and then up onto his head. So just between the wee mohawk and above his eyebrow, you can add little sections of green, and the same on the other side. You can just add as you go and just buff those out with a fluffy paintbrush. And then the same with the white, you can obviously create different colours. I think there's maybe 2 or 3. I'm not being as precious, I suppose, maybe what I could have been. So just add those. Again, just little patches on his back just to give him a wee bit more definition. And then a little bit of white finally just on his toes. So just a wee bit at the front of all of his toes. And the same with the back. And that's you. Little Pascal is ready to go, as you can see. Thank you so much again for watching, guys. I've got an Easter one coming in the next couple of days, and if there's anything else you would like to see, please let me know and I'll get them on my list. Thanks, have a lovely day.